Welcome to the stream. I have Kat on today, and we're going to be talking about self-validation. Um, Kat, how are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
I am quite lovely. I like how we're going to act like we weren't just having a whole conversation 2 minutes ago.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's nice to see you for the first time and speak to you for the first time.
Actually, I think the self-validation topic is very relevant because, like, literally in therapy today, I was like talking about stuff that happened at my old workplace that still got me down, and my therapist was like, whenever you think about that, you should picture yourself just giving yourself a hug. And I was like, well, that feels weird. So then she told me to say nice things about myself. So that's that was our new plan. Um, so I'm trying to remember like what bullet point specifically that you wanted to go through. Because we were talking about. Oh, yeah, you said about ways to know that you're manipulated, which we talked a little bit about manipulation, but I don't know if you felt comfortable talking about like your past relationship where like that was really toxic and how you sort of came up from that like a bad bitch phoenix and learned to love yourself. V
Yeah.
Falcon, what's up? How are you? It's good to see you today. Kat, I did not mean to cut you off. Go ahead, you
Oh, it's
fabulous
okay.
unicorn.
Um, okay, so yeah, my ex, before my current boyfriend. So I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, like it was just like all him being terrible. Although I'll say it's mostly him being terrible. I think that there are also obviously certain relationships where you just kind of bring out the worst in each other, and I think it was definitely one of those.
Yeah.
But so I feel like one thing that people do when they're manipulating you is that like they will basically put you on a pedestal, and then every time you do something that they don't like or like make some kind of mistake, they almost act like betrayed, I guess, because like they're like, "Oh, well, you're not actually like fucking perfect." Like cuz I remember like in the really early days of the relationship, like he was like really like not like over the top cuz I didn't find it weird or anything. I was like, "Wow, this is nice." Just like really complimentary of me all the time and like bragging about me and shit. But then like over time I noticed that I was like, I feel like it's only a matter of time before I end up like disappointing this person. So even before like things kind of like got sour between us, it was something that was at the back of my mind because like it's true. You really can't like it's nice. I mean, I feel like it's completely normal to actually feel that way in the early stages of a relationship. Like not even necessarily just a romantic relationship, but um I just think you have to be mindful about how you express it because it can come across as like kind of overly glorifying this person in a lot of I mean, I think anyone should be uncomfortable with that because it's a lot to live up to. But yeah, like basically man, I guess I'm just realizing how long ago this was because like there's a lot of it I don't even remember. But like um yeah, I feel like oh, so anytime that like I would confront him with something that like he did or said that like I wasn't okay with, he would get way like he would start being like really hard on himself. But the problem with that is that number one, it at first it seems like some like wow, they're like really sorry, they clearly feel bad about this. But what's really subtle, I think, is that when you're trying to express to somebody and communicate with them that they like crossed a boundary or like they did something you didn't like and they start doing that,
Hmm.
they're really just like centering their own feelings and kind of making that like the center of attention. And not only that, but it kind of forces you to then go into defense mode where you start comforting them and like validating them again by being like, oh no, like you're not that bad and stuff. So it's kind of a subtle way of like turning the focus back onto the other person. And like sometimes people do
Huh.
this consciously, but I think most of the time people do it unconsciously, but it's like a pattern of behavior that like, once you're an adult, it's kind of your responsibility to keep that shit in check. So,
Yeah, actually, two instances come to mind. I remember um, I was working when I was an EMT. There was a couple, a married couple that was working together, and when I was with them, the wife said like, "Hey, you did this and I didn't like it," or whatever. And the husband was like kind of like a manipulative person, and by kind of I mean like, very pretty manipulative. And like anytime she would be like, "Hey, I didn't really like that you did this." He would just be like, "Okay, I'm the biggest piece of shit." And it's like, "Don't do that. Like you know what you're doing by doing
yeah.
that." Or like I remember in a past relationship it like took me a really long time to like get through to somebody that they weren't really taking my feelings into consideration, or like um didn't value my opinion really. Like I felt like I was shut down a lot. And by the time they really realized it, like we would hang out and they would just like act really down in the dumps and be like, "Well, I'm still sad that I treated you this way." And I didn't even realize until you said that like it makes so much sense that I was like, "Oh, it's okay. It's okay." And it's like I never really thought about it the way you're describing it, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think I mostly noticed this uh because I definitely am guilty of it too. Like and for me it's because like I genuinely do end up getting really really hard on myself when I like make a mistake in some way.
Mhm.
But also because of like people in my past, like I never like just kind of believing the worst of me basically, or like assuming that I had bad intentions. I
Yeah.
used to feel when I was younger like I had to like I have to prove to this person that I'm actually upset, that or they'll never believe that like I actually care. And then like I don't know, I don't remember what like made me come to that realization, but I think it was just like stuff I like would come across online when I was a teenager. Not even that, like probably when I was in college, like I was 20 or something. And I was like, huh, actually they have a point there. So it's something that once I noticed it in myself, I was like, hey, other people actually do this a lot too.
Huh. Yeah, that's a really good point. I remember like when I mean, I've obviously worked on this where I don't do this now, but in the past where I felt like my opinion wasn't valued at all, um, or I wasn't taken seriously when I felt a certain type of way, or whenever I felt sad about something or whatever, I remember like figuring out what I was going to say and like genuinely crying like as I was like thinking about it to myself. And then when I went to that person, like um I wanted it to be as real as basically I had rehearsed it in my head prior to that. And so, like, I feel like I tried really hard to sell it over the top to like express how I felt. And then because I did that, like trying to show, like, hey, I really feel sad about this, please take it seriously, it made them take it even less seriously because of that. If that does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And I that's like kind of like the same thing I would do, honestly. Like, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I like worked on that, but like also I've just like learned to spend my time with people who do value what I think and how I feel. And like if I have a problem with somebody, the people that I have in my life now are people that I could just have an open communication with where we'll both listen to each other, you know. Um
Yeah, definitely.
so I think just working on myself and surrounding myself with people that uh are positive influences and like make a positive impact in my life is another way that like my self like because part of self validation is knowing your worth enough to keep people in your life who treat you the right way and not keep people in your life who don't treat you right. And that took me
Yeah,
a long time to
exactly.
realize. Yeah. So on that note, And I really like a lot of what you said because a lot of it, like, I had never really thought about before. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So, if you wanted to open up more about about that kind of stuff, you're welcome to. But I'm also interested to hear ways that you've learned to validate yourself.
Um, I feel like one of the best things you can do is to kind of like, um, in a way, or in like a part of your life where like you just feel really shitty, like for whatever reason, like you are having like trouble in like your personal relationships, or like you're maybe like, I don't know, unemployed or something like that. Pick up a project that you can do, that you can work on over time, like something that would take a while, and work like towards a goal of some kind, and have it not have anything to do with any of that stuff. Because I remember one time, like when I was in college, I was like feeling like very low mentally, and I had always done theater in college, and I was like, you know what, there's like auditions for a show coming up. And I had never done theater at college before, but you know what? Fuck it. Like, I need something in my life to be excited about. Maybe I'll audition. And so I did, and I got the part that I auditioned for, which I think that had been the first time in my entire theater life that that ever happened to me.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
really, yeah, and it was really nice. Like, it was like the perfect experience because like I got to work like as a part of a team
Hmm.
on something that like took months to like develop as a project, and you could see it like getting like stronger and like growing before your eyes basically, and it had nothing to do with like any of the shit in my life that depressed me, so it was like the perfect like distraction. And something like that I think is like perfect, but it could be anything. Like you could independently like do some kind of art project, or like do some interior decorating. That's always a favorite of mine.
Yeah,
But
I like organizing a nice space to be in is really cathartic because you feel more comfortable whenever your surrounding space is like cozy. Um, People in the chat, I'd love to hear what are some ways that you validate yourself, or also what are some ways that like damaged your self-worth, and how did you guys rise above that? Usually I'm better about like asking the chat questions, but I guess I've been so caught up in our conversation that um yeah. But yeah, if you guys have anything to share, like similar experiences or anything, I'd love to hear. I think we've all been through something like that where we have had a low self-esteem or been around people who brought us down. Um and needed to find our self-worth. I like your idea, Kat, of taking up a project. I think there's good sides to that and bad sides to that, because I know there's times where I've felt really burnt out and I forced myself to do a project, but I like would run myself to the ground trying to do that. And I started basing myself, like my value off of like how productive I was being. So one thing I like learned about recently is base your value not necessarily in how like productive you are, but like how like your convictions. So like the way that I treat friends. I'm proud of the way I treat my friends. I'm proud of the morals that I have. Like I wrote down like, my like own personal commandments, and the way that I follow those, I feel really good about that. So, those are some ways that I validate myself in knowing that, hey, I have conviction, I have these things, and it doesn't always have to be I need to do a project, or I need to get an award, or I need this prestigious title or whatever. Um, V Falcon says, I would beat myself up over not doing enough in the past. Now I acknowledge breaks are fine, and that even basic tasks are worth giving myself credit for. I'm really glad that you're able to do that, V Falcon. Um, yeah, I've started doing that too. Like, I used to feel like I would do the same thing, especially over the pandemic. I was constantly beating myself up, like, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? And like, now it's like, oh, I cooked myself a meal. Oh, I took a shower. I went grocery shopping. Like, those are things where, or it's like, if I had to drive a long distance or something to get to a task that I needed to do, I'll count that. And it's like, those are things that I never would have counted as quote unquote enough before. Because it's like, oh, but did you animate today? Did you do this thing that you said you were gonna do but didn't? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I remember you used to do that a lot in college, where you would be like, "Oh, like I have to, I didn't animate today, so I feel like really shitty and like unproductive." But like, I was like, dude, I mean, it's great for like your craft that you had the goal to like animate every day and you really wanted to hold yourself to it. But like, not if it's gonna make you feel bad if you just like don't have it in you one day. Because it's not like that means you're gonna just completely fall off and be lazy, but it's like it's coming to a point where for a while it was like bringing you like more stress, it seemed, than something that was actually helping you to grow. So it's a
Yeah.
good thing that you ended up coming out of that, because you used to get like so like anguished over it if you ended up like not having the time, or like just like not in the right headspace to do it.
Yeah. Um God. And I would like fucking wake up at 5 a.m. and like do hit training and all this other shit. And it's like, and then go to classes all day. And then I'm like, oh, why am I so, and like walk to class because I didn't have a car. And it's like, oh, why am I such a lazy piece of shit? And it's like, Also, V Falcon, what are some ways that, so you said that you learned to acknowledge that breaks are fine and give yourself credit for things. Like, so how was your journey with that? Like, how did you begin to start validating yourself? Um, I was like thinking back to like a time where my old boss, like, my old supervisor was like making fun of me, like, because I had awards hung up around my cubicle. And she saw like my like plaques for like the film festivals I got accepted to, and she's like, but did you actually win any? And I was like, well, I got into the semifinals of one. And she's like, yeah, but that's not actually winning. Or like, I had my like EMT certification, and she'd be like, oh, well, if my brother can get through med school, I bet anybody could get through EMT school. And like, it was like so shitty, but like, I have to remind myself, like, I'm like, out of everybody in my EMT class, I'm one of like two other people that didn't drop out. Like, and I like, those are the kinds of things that like I have to remind myself of, like, whenever I think of like the ways that she put me down, and just remember like she was purposely trying to put me down, and like that it doesn't actually have any meaning or actually have any reflection on me, and like remind myself like of the hard work I did. And it's hard to do that, when somebody was like constantly putting me down for everything.
Yeah, and it's just crazy because like that's like an insane thing to do, to just like randomly just like start shitting on people for no reason. Like that
Yeah.
definitely, you have way more of a problem than the other person does if that's what you're doing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And like, do you have other instances that you could think of where um like people that would put you down? Like, I mean, I know that in your past relationship that was very prevalent, but I wasn't sure if like in other situations that you had to deal with that.
Um, yeah, I mean like I um I definitely got bullied a lot in middle school and shit like that, which like back then obviously like I didn't, cuz when you're a kid it's like hard.
Yeah.
Um like literally just like it was just like I was like that kid that just like for no particular reason they like had like they were just like, oh, like everything that like happens, let's just make fun of Cat. And like back then like it used to make me so fucking mad, but like now like if anyone like tried to do that I would just be like, man, whatever, like I know I'm cool, so who gives a shit, like you're just being a fucking miserable person. So I think that's really the difference in how you look at it, is like having the confidence to be like, hey, at the end of the day, whatever anyone says about me, like I know myself and I know that like every day I try to like be the best I can be. So anything that they say about me is bullshit because like I know that much.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like there's people that just want to hurt you. On that note, real quick, I'm gonna check the chat, and then I want to talk about I'm gonna mention something that you made me think of with that. Let's see. Good question. V Falcon says, "Good question. I had a habit of discounting things that were considered easy, quote unquote. I think I actually confused essential with easy, so I discarded the notion of easy slash hard because that boils down to what other people think of you. Basically, stop worrying what other people think. If something is tough for you, then it's tough." Yeah, let's go, Cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw like what V Falcon said. That reminds me of a Facebook post I saw that looked really long, and I was gonna be like, this looks stupid and not read it, but I'm glad I did. It was like, this is the reason why it was like, you have to read this. This is the reason why I use the dishwasher more than once in a row. And I was like, I bet this is dumb. And then I read it because I was like, I'm gonna prove to myself how dumb this is. But it actually like really fucking like changed my perspective on shit, because it said that this woman was so depressed that she couldn't get anything done, and even like running the dishwasher was hard for her because the idea of having to rinse off her dishes was just overwhelming. And like her therapist was like, why don't you just run the dishwasher twice? And she's like, well, I heard that's like bad for it. And her therapist was like, dude, you can run it 5 times if you need to. If it means you get the thing done, who cares? Like, do whatever means you get the thing done, because that's what's more important. Like, and she's like, wow, I never thought about it that way. So like, much like what we talked about in the ADHD stream, like making things like easier to do, like making things like the path of least resistance so you can get them done, it doesn't make it any less valid whenever you get it done. It's just like, it's not bad to work smarter, not harder. It doesn't make you lazy. You just got to do whatever you can to get through.
Yeah, definitely. And like there's no point in so in certain situations everyone says like, oh, stop comparing yourself to other people, which I mean, like, yes, but there are certain situations where I think it's only natural to, but that wouldn't be one of them ever, because like the thing is, like, when it comes to just like life, everyone has their own shit that they're dealing with. So there's no point in comparing like what you do in your own home, like just basic stuff to like be a person throughout the day, to what another person is doing for that, because like what's the point? Like, it's not like you're at a job, like it's not like you're both like students and you want to like compare your progress. You'll probably never even know what the other person is doing to do their dishes or whatever. So there's no point in worrying about it, because if someone's gonna like shit on you for taking longer than they did, it's like, I mean, they're just doing it to do it, because it's not like it affects their own dishes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And on that note, what you said about even comparing projects, it's like, I remember when I started art school, on the first day of drawing class, we had to draw our student IDs. And I remember mine was coming out so shitty. And like, I looked at other people's and I was like, oh my God, these people are like hundreds of leagues ahead of me. Like, how am I ever going to compete? And on the last day of school, um, I, or on the last day of like that class, we took our final project, and the teacher gave us our very first drawing we did before we got any like lessons or anything. And we got to look at our improvement, and I thought to myself, it doesn't matter where they started. Look where I started and look where I'm at now. um
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I have another note about that. Um in 1 second, I'm gonna 1 second, I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna check the chat real quick. uh V Falcon says, took me a long time to realize that. Yeah, it's like, I think it's always a process. Like, it's an ongoing battle to remind yourself that. But like, the fact that you're working on it is the important thing. Even if it's hard some days to remind yourself that you're working hard, you're still it's getting easier to remind yourself that day by day, I think. Um, Project Gnarly says, lurk. Hey, Project Gnarly, how are you doing? Oh, look, you got like a cool badge next to your name. I guess that's, for subbing, possibly? Kat, I don't think you were here for last stream, but, I started getting subs.
Ooh.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so thank you everybody who contributed to that. I really appreciate all of your guys' help. Also Project Gnarly, you gifted a lot of subs, so that was huge. So, big shout out to you. Um, oh, one other thing actually, as far as comparing yourself to people, I remember in art class, I was working on this like drawing of a vase, like a still life. And I remember thinking, oh my god, I'm such a fucking shitty artist and I hate myself. And like we went out for like, I mean, some artists went out for a smoke break because like every artist smokes. But
Oh
um
my god, it's so true.
but I went out and like, stretched out for a bit and I came back and I saw this one drawing cuz we had all set our drawings on the easels like all like against the wall for everybody to see. And I saw this one drawing and I thought, "Oh my god, that's so good. Like why can't my art be that good? Like why can't I be that person?" And I looked at it and I was like, "Oh my god, that's my fucking drawing."
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's so crazy because when I was looking at it and I thought and it was my own, I thought it was shitty. But the second I thought it was somebody else's, I was like, wow, it's amazing. And like and I try hard to like I learned like obviously it's my responsibility to validate myself. It's nobody else's responsibility. But if I see somebody getting bullied, I'll try to like support them because like I don't know if you know this, but the Facebook art community is toxic as fuck. So anytime I see somebody like talking shit on somebody's art, which there always is, I always like make a point to like say something nice about that person's art and be like, you know what, this person's probably just jealous, like your art is great. And the people are always so thankful to like hear somebody being supportive because like there's always somebody that wants to tear somebody down, and it's like it's just not worth it to subject yourself to those types of people. So yeah. So uh do you have any experiences, and to the chat too, do you guys have any experiences where you were tearing yourself down and then you suddenly had a way to lift yourself up, or you or something like that. Like I remember I thought this painting I did was shitty and then it got like 80 likes on Facebook and I was like, "Oh, I guess I don't suck." Like do you guys have any experiences like that, or like Kat, like how do you relate to that?
Yeah, actually, so I was in this play once, that it was like the first show that I ever did with this one community theater that like I literally like it's definitely the biggest community theater like in the area, and I grew up literally going to plays there. Like I remember it was like downtown by my elementary school, and we used to go to like field trips. Like we would all walk there to see plays. And I was like, wow, like, oh, they're so good. And I was dancing in it, and I was always like, man, like, oh, the other girls have like so much more like technical skill than me. They have like more flexibility because they probably took more ballet than I did, and all this stuff like the whole show. But I was like, I'm just gonna like bust my ass and like just fucking do the best I can. And then there was this one guy, he was like a stage manager, I think. And I had been talking to him about something one day, and he like mentioned it to his mom or something, and he was telling me that like his mom was like, "Oh, Kat, which one is she?" And he was like, "Oh, she's like the really tall one," and he said that his mom was like, "Oh, the best dancer," and I was like, "Wow, what, really?"
Aw.
So it just goes to show you that like you could be like just thinking about all the ways that like maybe you're not like as talented on paper as somebody, but the entire time people would have absolutely no idea that any of these like flaws that you perceive exist, and they're just like, whoa, they're really good.
I really love that. A saying that I really like, it's called "It's shit but nobody else thinks so." And it's sort of it I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but basically like as like I relate it to art where it's like I think like what it could be related to anything like you're your own worst critic, of course. So you'll think like this is shitty, but eventually you'll get to a point where maybe you still think it sucks, but nobody else is going to think that. And at that point it's like you still want to get to a point where you can be confident in yourself, obviously. But like it's I think that's amazing that that person was like, wow, she's the best dancer, and it really goes to show like how hard we are on ourselves.
Yeah, and it's so funny too because like cuz like I work in makeup now and people will come in and be like, "Oh, do you see these huge bags under my eyes?" And like I'm always like, "I mean, no, like I don't. I genuinely don't." And I always like obviously I'll give them something that is going to help with that because like that's how you're going to feel confident, but I always make sure to be like I like when you point it out, I can see what you're talking about, but like it's so much worse to you than it ever looks to anybody else. So you
Yeah.
definitely have like a magnifying glass on whatever flaws you have, just in general.
Oh yeah. I hate those mirrors that like magnify on your face because it's
Oh
like
my god, yeah.
it just seems so toxic because it's just gonna make you look at every pore and be like, oh my god, I'm disgusting. I have craters in my face. And like,
And also, like, it doesn't make you do your makeup any better anyway. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, thank God, like, I had one that was like that close up. Like, I would probably look the same.
yeah, it's not like anybody is looking at you like, I don't know. Um, Also, you are really good at doing your makeup. Just
Thank
saying.
you.
Um, and like, even like I was thinking like, oh, my hair looks shitty. I need to cut it. I need to cut it. But then like I was going different places and everyone was like, I love your hair, and like. And then I like cut it anyway, and I was like, "Oh no, people aren't gonna compliment it anymore," and people still did, and I'm like, "Why do I fucking do this to myself all the goddamn time?" Like, you would think that I would learn to stop, but like, yeah. Um, I I'm really glad that I'm getting to a point where I can validate myself based on like how I am as a friend and things like that instead of just my uh productivity because when I just valued myself on my productivity, I never felt like I was enough. Um let's see. Da, 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 da. Project Gnarly is rating a party of one. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Um,
Whoa, I've never seen that before.
it means like they're sending viewers from another channel to your channel.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, thank you. XXX Psy. How do you say your name?
I think
Sylvie.
it's Sylvie.
Sylvie?
I think
Uh,
so.
and triple X at the end of that. Hello there. How's the stream going? Hey Sylvie, it's going really good. Thanks for asking. I have Kat on. We're interviewing her and we're talking about self-validation. I'd love to hear from you about ways that you give yourself love and that you validate yourself and tell yourself the ways that you have value. Um, uh, oh wait, Kat, you speak Spanish, right? Can you tell me what that
Um,
says?
I think, I think that's Portuguese.
Oh,
Uh, but I don't know. I
oh.
think well, because I know guerra means war, um, in Spanish.
Here, I'll
But
I'll use Google Translate. Um, and I'll figure out what that says. Also, Project Gnarly says thought I had a bigger party than that. Must have lost some on the way. Oh, that's okay. I really appreciate you sending me viewers. That was really nice of you. I'm gonna go on Google Translate so I can figure out what that says. Um, boop. Oh, detect language. What do you think about the war? Oh, I don't honestly know enough about like anything political to comment on it. According to the interwebs, like I looked up on like Quora or whatever, like if it's gonna lead to World War III, and Quora was like, nah. And I was like, all right, I'll go back to feeling okay about life because of this one thing on the internet, because the internet never lies. And then I stopped thinking about it.
Yeah, I think it's bad. I think that's
I'm sorry, I didn't
well,
mean to
yeah.
laugh at that.
No, 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 no. It's okay. Yeah. I just feel bad for all the people in Ukraine who have to have all this shit happen and feel like, because the thing is, like, I mean, you know, it's it just seems so senseless. And it's nice. It's been really nice, if anything, to see how there's a lot of other countries in Europe who are like being super supportive. And like, I know that like Poland and Ireland, notably, have been like really, really like, hey, like anyone from Ukraine, like come here. We'll like make it so that like it's a lot easier for you to be refugees here. And actually, I live in a city that is notably like known to be really welcoming for refugees. Like I grew
Oh.
up with a ton, yeah, like I grew up with a ton of Bosnian kids because there was a lot of unrest in Bosnia in like the late 80s and early 90s, which like, would be right around the time that like me and like other kids in my grade were being born. So I feel like hopefully we're still that welcoming. It definitely seems that way because there's also like a lot of like Iraqi people that I grew up with as well, like later
Oh.
on. So maybe we'll see some Ukrainian people if they're able to come over here. We would definitely be happy to have them, at least I would.
On that note, actually, Twitch gave me a notification that it says like stream to help those affected by the crisis in Ukraine. It says we're matching $100,000 in donations, all earning from your charity stream go to humanitarian aid. So actually, um, let's see. Oh, I can actually set this up so that if anybody um donates, I'll do this for next stream, but I'll set it up so that if anybody donates to my stream, Twitch will match your donation to help those that are suffering in Ukraine. So I'll set that. I don't want to like take away from like what we're doing right now to do that, but next stream I'll have that set up so that way you guys can donate to help with the refugees. Also, thank you so much, Sylvie, for following my stream. And I see you said, oof, I suck at loving myself. Yeah, it is really hard. Like, I've been doing this thing where I saw this meme that said, it was like, when I call myself a dumb bitch and then remember I'm trying to start being nicer to myself. And then it was a screenshot that just said, oops, we don't say that word on Barbie.com. And ever since I saw that, I like, if I say something mean to myself, I will out loud be like, oops, we don't use that word on Barbie.com. And it's actually like, weirdly enough, been reinforcing me to be kinder to myself.
Oh my God, I'm definitely gonna do that now.
Uh, Sylvia, what do you think of? Oh, actually, anybody in Twitch, like, what do you guys think of that idea? Is there something that you can say if you happen to say something mean to yourself? What can you think of to say to counteract, like, or remind yourself, hey, I'm not going to treat myself this way. I'm not going to talk to myself this way. I'm going to be nicer to myself. Like, what is sort of like a mantra, if you will, that you can repeat to yourself to remind yourself that you deserve love? Uh, I'm glad that you like that, Cat. I've actually been telling my Uber customers that, and they really like that too. So I'm really glad that I can like spread that to people. Um, do you like what are some ways that like you have started to be nicer to yourself?
Um, I guess like well, I said this on the other stream, but basically I think a really good rule of thumb is that if you were like facing an issue and you were just like telling your like being like, oh no, you have to be better, like, oh, just like suck it up, it's not even that bad. Just like imagine that, like, instead of you experiencing this problem, it was like one of your friends telling you about this problem.
Yeah.
Would you feel comfortable saying that to them? And if the answer is no, well, you better start being nicer to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember being told like, "Oh, validation isn't always that great." And it's like, "Mm, actually, that's a dumb thing to say." Like, of course you
Yeah, like
should.
psychologically, like humans like need it. Like it's one thing if somebody's like being unreasonable about it, or like they can't function without external validation from other people, but like you would literally be like, it's like how like babies need to have like human contact or like it fucks them up. Like you have to
Yeah.
have some kind of like self-satisfaction and validation, and you have to have some kind of like encouragement because like mentally you like really can't function without it.
Yeah, for those of you guys who don't know, there was actually this really fucked up science experiment years ago, it was a long ass time ago, where I think it was like, I don't know, in the 1800s or 1700s. I don't know. But anyway,
Is this
they
the monkey thing?
n- I don't know about that what that is, but
Okay.
I'd like
Okay.
uh
I'll explain later, but go
Okay.
on.
It's where they took these babies and they wanted to see what would happen if they only gave them their basic needs. So, feeding, changing diapers, um, like things like that. And they only did that, but didn't give them any cuddles or love or talk to them, and all the babies died, which is like super fucked up, but like it just goes to show that we literally need love, we literally need care in our life, or else we just can't function. So what you're saying is completely true, Kat. What was the monkeys thing?
Okay, so it's actually like pretty much the same thing. Where it was like in the 50s, they did this study where they took two like baby monkeys, um, and raised them in like a lab setting. And they put some monkeys like in cages with like other monkeys and some in like separate cages. Um, and like the ones that had like socialization, like were doing fine. But when they put the monkeys by themselves, they would just like seem like they would just like, I don't know, like pace around their cage and just like stare blankly. And then when they put them back with the other monkeys, they like didn't really know how to like interact with the group. And then there was a different one where they had two baby monkeys and they made like one fake like dummy mother monkey out of just like wood and like metal or something. And the other one they put like soft fabric on them and like soft foam. And they like there was one where the hard like wood and metal mother had like a bottle of milk, and the one that was like soft had nothing. And then there was one where they gave like the soft one food and the other one had nothing. But I guess like the monkeys like always picked the soft mom whether or not it had milk or food because like the comfort was like more important to them.
Wow.
Yeah, I
That's
learned about that in
amazing.
psych class. Yeah, I think that there was pictures. They were really cute monkeys, but
Aw. Yeah, my one friend was telling me that like sometimes we'll feel cold and like blankets don't do it, like don't fix the problem. And like the reason that is because sometimes we're not actually cold when we feel cold, but we feel lonely. So like my friend said he would like hug a pillow or like a stuffed animal and it would like make him feel warmer because he was like cuddling something. Because loneliness can make us feel cold.
oh wow, I've never heard that.
Yeah, I also like listened to this thing on read this thing on Tumblr. Well, it was a screenshot from Tumblr I saw on Facebook, but like it said that like holding a cup of tea can help you because it simulates the warmth of like holding somebody's hand.
Huh. Oh yeah, I looked it up. It says that not only does like being lonely make you feel colder, but being ignored socially can make your body temperature drop.
Wow.
Hmm. Yeah, there's tons of articles about this. I can't believe I never saw it.
Yeah, actually another thing that's crazy is like I was actually telling Zach how after every stream I feel inexplicably really lonely, and I was like I don't understand why this happens. Like I just got done like basically hanging out with people. And he was like that's actually a pretty common phenomenon. And I couldn't find anything about it like online, but he was like telling me that like because you get this basically this it's like any other social media where you get this dopamine rush from like socializing with people that whenever that like stimulus is taken away you feel lone excuse me you feel lonely.
Yeah, well, because like I feel like this is definitely because you like to go to shows and stuff. Have you ever heard anyone talk about like post-concert depression? Because I bet you if you Googled post-concert depression, you actually would find stuff online, and it probably would boil down to exactly the same thing. Because I remember like the first few times I started going to concerts when I was like in high school and stuff, I would come home and I'd be uh, like I think I before she got like super famous, I saw Katy Perry when I was like 15, and I came home and I was like, why do I feel like I like miss her? And I was like sad the next
Oh,
day. And then like I saw like people, and then I mentioned it to my friends who I had gone with, and they're like, "Oh yeah, like that happens every time we go to a show." And like I think it's the same concept. Like I think that like whenever you have something that you're so excited for, also especially if it's something like that, or like I notice like after a vacation sometimes, that you spent months being excited for, and then it seems like it's over so fast in comparison to how much you were like anticipating it. Yeah, I've definitely noticed that.
wow. Yeah, I remember like for months I looked forward to my Oregon trip whenever I worked at Lincoln and like um when it was over and I went back to work, I would just like look at my sticker that I got from Oregon in my cubicle and it just said Oregon Dreaming and I was like, oh, yeah. Like it felt like the vacation wasn't long enough. Like I definitely that's so true. I feel like with concerts though, like anytime I've gone to a concert, like a lot of times I'll go to a concert with my dad and then we'll like he'll like stay over or we would like stay at a hotel or something like that. So I would still be spending time with him after the concert. So I feel like that's why I personally haven't really felt lonely after a concert because I was always hanging out with somebody afterwards.
Yeah, I should go to a next time we go to a concert, I should go to a hotel afterwards, and then I don't feel like it's like, well, I'm just back at my regular life now.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna go see John Mulaney on Friday, and I'm gonna be staying at like a motel with like a friend. So I'm like super duper excited because it's just like it's basically like an after party, like after seeing John Mulaney. So I never thought about how like good that is for your mental health to like have that afterwards, but that's really cool. I learned something today. Is there anything else that like that you can think of that sort of brought down your self-esteem that you had to work up from? Like I guess I don't want to necessarily end this on a negative note, not that we are, but like I'm trying to like we have about like 9 more minutes until the end of the stream, so I wasn't sure if there was anything else that you wanted to bring up and like ways that you validate yourself or like even like I think the concept of loneliness and how it affects us is really interesting too. So I'm interested to see if to hear if you have any other like insight on that.
It's interesting because I feel like being lonely like makes it it's like being in like a super quiet room with like no furniture. So like every sound suddenly makes so much more noise than it would have before. So it kind of just goes right back to like overblowing your own flaws and shortcomings because I think that like if you have a lot of time to be thinking about like how lonely you are and how much you want to like connect with another person, not only can you already be like really critical of yourself because of the fact that like you're lonely, but you have so much more time to just overthink, and that's like literally never good. Um, I definitely feel like it will make you focus so hard on problems and make them so much worse than it has to be.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Actually, I'm still gonna be listening and talking, but I'm just gonna do one thing real quick off screen. Um,
Okay.
But okay. Um Speaking of like post stream loneliness, actually it's really nice because at the end of the stream like my friend is coming over. So that'll be really cathartic. So I had to like make sure my door was unlocked so my friend wasn't just like standing out there if whenever they show up. But yeah, actually I don't know. Do you ever listen to Glass Animals?
I used to back in the day. I kind of like was never super into them, but I definitely like have listened to them.
Tisk tisk. Um, they're so fucking good. They have this one song called "It's Also Incredibly Loud," and it's actually about like a failing relationship, um, and like how they don't have anything to say to each other. They're just sitting there in silence. But it's about how that silence feels so loud and speaks so many volumes to that like that uncomfortable feeling. And I think that really touches on what you're saying about how that silence can feel loud, like how that loneliness can feel. Actually, Boy Alex was telling me once, like, cause you know how like in college he like shared a room with somebody. Um, I only know that
Yeah.
because he told me. I never like went to his dorm, but he was saying that like sometimes his like roommate would just like have sex like in the same room that when he was like there,
What
and
the fuck?
oh yeah, I know that's so weird. Um, but he said he like described it as being more lonely than being alone, which I feel like makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. Like I remember there was like one Valentine's Day where like I wasn't seeing anybody and like I was over your house and this is whenever you were living with Leah and like her and Alex were like cuddling and like you and Steve were cuddling and you were like, "No, we're the better couple." Like I don't remember what exactly you said something like that and you were like joking with each other and in my head I was just brooding cuz I was like salty.
Oh my god. Wait,
Oh,
you weren't. Oh yeah, I guess you weren't. Huh.
yeah. Um and then yeah, I remember like you guys were all like, "Okay, see ya, Danny. We're going to go have sex. Have fun watching Bob's Burgers in the living room." And I like,
You seem like you were.
"Well, I wasn't." And then I ended up going to a bar and like chain smoking a bunch of cigarettes I bummed off of the bartender. And then and I did like 2 shots of whiskey and I got nicotine poisoning and I thought that I was drunk because I threw up and didn't know what nicotine poisoning was. And then like I trusted these like random guys to like drive me home to like your house uh because I was comfortable with it in my head because the dude like did a blowjob shot and deep throated the glass and I was like clearly no straight man could ever do this.
Well,
So
they did say that they were gay, so
well
I
I
think you're right.
I'm just saying in future like for future reference maybe don't let random strangers that are guys drive you home just because they say that they're gay. But in 20 something year old Danny's mind, she was like, I could justify this. But it actually worked out fine because they came over and were like complimenting Steve's beard.
Yeah, and I remember the guy kept being like, "Yeah, you just have to maintain. Like it's good to like maintain." And he said the word maintain like 50 times, and I was like, I've been trying to tell him this.
So the day worked out better and it ended with a party where like and I got to hang out with those guys and the bartender, but like it
And we
started
watched
out
Mrs. Doubtfire.
I don't even remember that part. That became a
Yeah.
blur. But I remember like that day feeling so lonely at first because it was like the fucky day and everybody else was fucky and I was watching Bob's Burgers.
To be
So,
fair, I feel like I wouldn't have like just abandoned you, but I remember because you said that you were gonna like visit somebody or something like that. Because at that point, like more people that you knew from college still lived in the area. But I feel like the weather was really bad that weekend, so you ended up like not hanging out with them, and I think you tried to make it seem like it was no big deal, but in retrospect, I'd like to think that the cat of today would be like, I don't know, I don't think it's fine, but at the time I was like, all right, see
I mean, like, at the end of the day, I have, like, a positive memory from it, and it's like, I can look back at it and be like, okay, that's actually pretty funny. Um, but,
you.
like, yeah, just in terms of, like, that mindset of, like, loneliness and feeling more alone than being alone, even though I'm in a house, like, full of people, like, it just puts that into perspective. But, like, I think that's why being able to validate yourself is so important because, um, like, nobody deserves to feel that way.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Um, yeah, I actually talked to one of my customers who said that, like, she's been single for the past 2 years and she's like, I love it. I feel so independent. And I thought, you know what? Good on you, girl. Like, that's amazing. Like, I think it's great that somebody can be in that mindset.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially because I feel like so much of like the like culture of like just in general like the world pretty much is like so focused on, or at least American I'll say, is so focused on like setting up the idea that like your life is just like a waiting game until you find somebody who you're gonna marry, and then like that's your life, and like you should be in a couple and all that shit. So it's definitely helpful to get along knowing how to validate yourself, so that, because that would make anybody depressed if you don't end up like be I mean, because it's no, I mean, everyone's gonna not be in a relationship sometime in their life.
Yeah, actually, in retrospect, I think that makes. I mean, there's plenty of fucking reasons why the show How I Met Your Mother is toxic as shit, but, like, I think that is something that gets overlooked is, like, that literally was the whole fucking the main character's goal. It was never about, like, validating himself or feeling like enough. Like, at least Barney could fucking admit the fact that he, like, just needed sex to validate himself, but Ted Mosby is like, "Oh, I just need romance." And it's like, "You know what? Like, why don't you fucking learn to, like, I don't know. I hate Ted Mosby, but that's that's a different topic. But just in general, like, the whole thing of that show is like I have to find my soulmate. Like, I remember, like, my friend telling me that his parents would always be like, when are you gonna get married? When will you give us grandkids? Which is, like, so fucking toxic to say that to your kid. Like, if
And I
you,
remember like everybody always compared that show to Friends, but honestly, that offended me because
yeah,
like the thing is like that show is literally like it revolves around relationships and makes it seem like that's like the main thing in your adult life, and it's like I know there's some career stuff but it's never as important as the relationship stuff, whereas like Friends had so much time where like there was nothing to do with like romantic relationships. Like there was a whole season like where Phoebe's whole entire like plot was her being like a surrogate parent for like her stepbrother or whatever. So like I feel like focusing on like real like things that happen that don't have to fucking do with dating for once in television history, like it's I feel like it was so much more well-rounded of a show.
huh? I never, like, watched much of that show actually. Real quick question: was Phoebe actually, like, pregnant? Was the actress actually pregnant in real life, and they just, like, worked
I
that into
don't
the
think
show?
so.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't
Well,
think
okay.
Yeah, neither one of them actually were pregnant in real life when that. Actually, you know what? I shouldn't say that. I don't know if Lisa Kudrow has kids, but I know obviously Jennifer Aniston doesn't. But I don't think so.
Oh, I was just curious. But but yeah, and, like, Friends is literally titled Friends. It's like I think that's I remember, like, even, like, in my whenever I was, like, mourning my relationship, I listened to that, like, song Art Ho, which I, like, resonated with because it, like, sounded a lot like me because it's like she's got a tattoo sleeve and smokes a bag of weed and her haircut's way fucking shorter than me, and I was like, you're right, you're talking about me, thanks. But, like, one of the lyrics was she just wants love that she never gets, and I was like, you know what, actually I feel a lot of love in my life from my friends and my family, and I didn't feel unloved just because like just from not being in a relationship, even though like I was still like getting over that at that time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And like I think that's a huge thing, is like it's not just necessarily about validating yourself, it's also like um you know, using the support that you have. Also, I like haven't really been asking the chat a lot of questions. I feel bad. I am gonna probably hop off here in a little bit, but like I guess from now on I'll be like more conscious of checking the chat whenever I do interviews. But if you guys have any like last thoughts, I'd love to hear what you guys think, what you guys thought of the stream, and like what you thought of like the ways that we talked about loneliness and like validating yourself, and learning to like avoid people who you know, don't treat you right. Quick question, Kat, are you also like watching the Twitch stream on your computer, or are you just on the Discord?
I'm on the computer, yeah.
Okay, I was just curious. um but yeah, Kat, what did you think?
Oh man, I think it's always like, it's funny because I feel like this is like the foundation of like most of the other topics you talk about. So it's kind of fitting that we finally like discuss it as a whole.
Yeah, I think in mental health, learning to like, I mean, it's not even I think, I know, like learning to love yourself is the biggest part of mental health, because that encompasses everything. It encompasses like you getting enough sleep because you're valuing yourself enough to give yourself that time to sleep. You know, everything about that. Ch- Childo Shaggins. I like that username. Um I'm coming in late. Is this just ending? Yeah, actually we are about to end now. I'm first time chat from viewer. Also, thank you for hitting up the chat and for joining today. Yeah, the stream always goes for, I don't know what time zone you're in. But in Eastern Standard Time, the streams go from 8 to 9, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So if you miss today, you'll be able to come tomorrow, if you are free. We'll be streaming at the same time. But
You can replay this one.
yeah, the stream is recorded, so you'll be able to see it on my Twitch page. And also, I have a link now on my Twitch page of all of the whole Shorty Pop archive. There's a YouTube channel that if you want to follow, you can, and I have everything that I've ever streamed and remembered to back up is on there. 123321199 says hi. Hey, also for first time chat from viewer, thanks so much for hopping into the chat today and for joining us. They said, are you mental health? Yeah, this is a mental health related stream. So we are just on the tail end of it today. But yeah, I pick a different mental health topic to talk about every week. So on Tuesdays we have a special guest to interview. Say hi, Kat.
Hi.
And on Wednesdays, uh, my pronouns are he, her. Okay. Um, Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, my pronouns are she and she, her, and Kat's pronouns are also she, her. And I just want to make sure there wasn't a typo. So it's not she, her. It's he, her. Is that correct? I just want to make sure I understand. Yeah, correct. Okay, I just want to make sure. Yeah. So we and then on Wednesdays I will pick a mental health topic and I'll do research about it, and then I'll basically like sort of teach you guys stuff and ask you guys questions. But the Tuesday ones are like interviews. So at the same time tomorrow, 8 to 9 Eastern Standard Time, we um we will do streams. Um so yeah, hopefully I could see you guys tomorrow. I know you're just hopping in at the tail end, and I I wish I had more time for yeah, the stream is at its end tonight. But you are 100% welcome to join the stream tomorrow at the same time. Um question mark. Yeah. I saw your comment about the stream ending. Yeah, we're gonna hop off here in a minute, but thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you guys coming on. And I'll be here tomorrow at the same time. If you're available at that time, I'd love for you to join us. But like I said, if you missed it, actually, Kat, real quick, I am gonna send you this because I it's weird sometimes if I post in the chat, but if you could do me a huge favor and post this in the chat for me so that way everybody has access to the full archive. I'm gonna send you this, and if you could just post that in the chat so everybody has the archive, because it is on my homepage, but just so it's here too.
Okay, I am.
What do you think of? Oh no, I don't. That's not a good thing to say. We don't tolerate that. Is that like a weird way of saying a racial slur? Because if that is, then
Yes.
I don't tolerate that. We're not gonna say racist things on the stream. So yeah, that's not cool. We are a community of love and acceptance. And we don't discriminate against anybody. We don't discriminate against any gender or religion or orientation or race. So don't use that kind of language in my chat. I'm very polite to people whenever they chat, but I have no tolerance for that kind of language in my chat. So that being said,
Just block them. They're being a fucking troll.
God, I need to figure out how the fuck to block people. But yeah. Anyway, on that note, thank you everybody else who joined today. I really appreciate the time that you put into watching the stream. I always appreciate your continued support. And thank you so much, Kat, for coming on today. I really appreciate the conversation, and I got a lot of insight from you. So thank you so much for everything. I really learned a lot today.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. Always a good time up in here.
All right, guys. Well, you guys all have a great night. Thanks for being a part of the Shorty Pop family. Love you guys, and take care.